We are here. We're doing Kuf Gimel in Yoreh, and we're doing Tam Lifkam. And Rev Nahu wanted, we talked about the in Zayin in the Shulchan Aruch, the time, right? If I cook an isur in my pot, and then 24 hours have passed, let's say, or maybe some amount of time has passed, and in intermediate I cooked something fine in there. uh and there's a question of, does it reset the clock or not, right? That's the question we were talking about. And so and maybe I'll open a question to the group. The Beit Yosef, really, the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah as well, how do they interpret this whole discussion? Like, if I let me just give an example. Like, I cook I don't know, pork in my pot, and then 24 hours pass, so it's cleaned out. 24 hours pass, and that's 24 hours, but within those 24 hours I boil water, to make tea, I don't know, or something like that. What does the Shulchan Aruch decide? What does the Ramad decide? And why? What's their basis for this whole thing? Eitan, please.
I think because they hold Hanan on Shari Surim, so not just Basar V'Chalav. So they say that basically like the water would turn to Nevela essentially, and then you'd have to wait another 24 hours for when the water's done, or when whatever the cooking of the water finishes.
Good. Who's they?
What do you mean? Who holds that?
Yes.
I think basically not the Rama.
No, yes, the Rama. Although it may not
Oh,
be 24 hours.
oh, but the Rama holds that for Basar V'Chalav.
No, no, you have it wrong.
But
Uh, the
I
Rama,
have it backwards.
yeah, good. So the Rama holds,
Uh,
he holds Hanan for everything.
oh, that's right. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I have it
Bishar
backwards.
Isurim, everyone holds for Basar B'chalav, according to Rabbeinu Ephraim. The Rama holds for Shar Isurim. The Beit Yosef slash Shulchan Aruch only holds it for uh, only holds it for Basar B'chalav, right? And they both think this is all about Hanan, and therefore it only is the case that you need to wait late from the second cooking for Basar B'chalav in the Shulchan Aruch's case. We'll see what he means by that, and in the Ramah for all cases, except there's a big exception here. Josie, you were going to say?
I didn't have the exception. I was just going to say it's this the stam in Shulchan Aruch. If you cook the water in the pot and it hasn't waited eight, it resets your timer.
It
If the
does, except let's actually read Zion now. Now we're going to read it, and then we're going to come back to the Beit Yosef. So this is good. So why we do Chazarah. Josie, start us out. Zion. So
So
we're in.
כדרך שהיבאו עולם מבשר וחלב שנתבשלו בה ביחד, או בזה אחר זה, וקודם שעבר לילה אחד הוחמו במים, חשיבה בת יומא, עד, שיש, עד שתשהה מעת לעת משעת שהוחמו המים. So a pot that absorbed basar and challah that were cooked there together, or one after the other, before an overnight passed, um, and you haven't boiled water, it's considered ba'yoma until you've waited after the cooking of the water. So the water resets, cooking the water in there resets the timer
Good, but for what?
for basar v'chalav.
Yeah, silence is long, right? Of course, the he only holds Hanan in Basar B'chalav. Not so crazy. Except he has he's got May late. Okay. Um but the other thing is he has how long does it have to be between the water and the cooking of the Basar B'chalav in this thing in order for it to not reset the clock?
Lila,
Yeah,
Linat Lila.
exactly. Linat Laila. And but it was actually very fascinating. He says Lina Laila, but then he says once the water's been cooked, then it's made late. This is kind of fascinating in itself. Because made late is not Lina Laila. Made late is 24 hours. Lina Laila is Lina Laila. But whose opinion is it Lina Laila?
Rashi, right?
It's Rashi. It's also Rabbeinu Tam. So the Re is the one who thinks that Ino Ben Yomo, if I remember correctly, I think it's the Re, thinks that Ino Ben Yomo is 24 hours. So, um, but okay, good. Now let's see what the Ramah has to say. Keep going, Josie.
Aga, aval im avar laila mutar. V'kein im avar laila bein bishul basar v'chalav, af al gav de'achar kach, hu hamohamayim yad, nami dina hachi. V'hu adin, b'chol ha'yisurim lefi maya dekayim alan, b'chol ha'yisurim chatichat naset nevada, ve'ayin la'el siman tzadi bet.
Yeah.
ובמקום חסד יש להתיר בחי גוונה בשאר איסורים בכל עניין רק שיהיה מעת לעת מזמן בישול האיסור. So, but the Rama says if you waited overnight, and it's not clear exactly whether he means overnight from the water or overnight originally. It has to be from the water, otherwise he'd be
Yes.
agreeing with the Chaber.
Yes, exactly. I think this is him saying that
You
the
can be
Machal,
lenient with this.
yeah, you should have said Lina Lila. So,
Mhm.
but
Um, and if it was Lila, and then you immediately first thing in the morning boiled your water in it, that would be okay too.
Yes, exactly. So that's Avra Laila Ben Bishul Basar Chalav Afagav yeah. Exactly. Behu
And
Adi.
now he gets into the fact that he holds Chanan by everything.
Exactly.
And this is this Svarat Harav. The Ayin La'el Siman, and look at 92. Look on the turtle.
Yeah.
But if there is a case of Hefsid Merubah,
No, read that again.
I'm sorry, if we're going to Hefsid,
Good.
I'm sorry, not Merubah, just Hefsid. If there's a case of loss, I don't know how much Hefsid there has to be.
Yeah, we'll go there in a second.
Yesh Lahatir B'chai Gavna, you can be Mekel here.
In when?
B'shar Yisim B'chol Inyan, Rakshi Amet Le Mizman Bishul HaIsur. As long as it's 24 hours since you cook the Isur.
Exactly. He's willing to be lenient in Shar Yisurim if there's a hefset. I just look at the Shach in Kaf there. Right. He said, I'll read this one. Makom hefset pirush b'makom hefset kitzat. Di'ilu makom hefset gadol b'lav hachi mutar mitama yeshrim de'eno rim chaticha nase nevela be'isur lach shenivla beheter lach kede el siman tzadivet. Why? Right? Because heter, if it were a huge loss, everyone would agree. Because why? We have another opinion. Remember that there's no chanan belach, lach belach. So he says just hefsed kitzat. I don't know what hefsed kitzat is, but it sounds like I would guess this is my own. Am I allowed to have an opinion? I don't know if I am. But my own opinion here would be in terms of this, like, I mean, assuming it's not pennies, you could probably do it. Like if it's hefsed kitzat sounds like you just it is. If you had a non-Jewish friend you could give it to, great. But if absent of that, if the thing is going to go to waste and you're going to
I
lose,
don't want to lose my Shabbos lunch.
exactly. But Shabbos lunch might already be a hefsed merubah to some extent, right? It's your daily lunch is probably not a hefsed merubah, but
I don't think I understand his reasoning. Like, I mean, how does that relate to Hefsek Tzad?
I think he's saying we would have already said hefsed merubah because of that opinion, right?
I see.
Yeah, we would have, we would have said in a place of hefsed merubah because some people say lach balach doesn't have chanan. Then we already would have, we would have made it a mutar anyway. In fact, I would say to that extent, he might even be willing to say that basar b'chalav, right? Because he thinks lach balach maybe, because since there is an opinion that lach balach doesn't have chanan in it. Then that would also apply in Hefsed Merubah potentially to Basar B'chalav. Actually look stunned or confused or.
I'm just reading it again.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Um, and as the Taz puts it, this is even before Linav Laila, right? All right, good. Let's this is, I mean, this is an important thing, right? When there's it's kind of a mindset in some ways that I think that both the Mechaber and the Ramah have bought into this idea that even if you think a certain reading of the Gemara is the correct reading, if there are major opinions that disagree, that gives you a place to be lenient in certain in difficult cases, right? It's because that's like if there are major poskim on it, it doesn't matter what you think that think differently, that already makes the thing kind of talui b'machloket, truly, and from a halachic perspective. So I think it's an interesting thought process they have, right? The Mechaber really thinks if someone thinks that this is a place to be makel, so the Ramah or also thinks, sometimes it's just the Mechaber thinks the place to be makel. Yeah, we won't be makel except if there's a time of need, then we will be makel, and we'll follow that team. There's places where he doesn't. Sometimes he thinks that the Mechaber gets it wrong, but
It's not such like an intensive time of need. It's hefsek tzad.
you're right. This
You
isn't.
can
You're right.
carry Mikhail.
A need. So
Yeah.
so good. Um, let's go back to the Beit Yosef now. Oh, so the tour. The interesting thing, actually, I'll say this: the tour. What does the tour hold in Hanan? Does the tour hold Hanan Bashari Surim? Tour tour does not hold Hanan Bashari Surim. But um, but let's read the tour in Zion now. This is where it gets interesting. Eitan, read the tour in Zion.
ואם בתוך מעת לעת שבישלו בה חממו בה אפילו מים לבדם, חשיבה בת יומא עד שתשהה מעת לעת לחימום המים. So if within 24 hours of cooking something you heat something else in it, even water just alone, it's considered to be bat yoma until you wait another 24 hours from when you heat the water.
So,
Uh,
right, this is by the way not talking about basar b'chalav. This is just talking about an isur at this point. So, kind of interesting. Okay, keep going.
לפי שמשערין בכל הקדרה, וכשחממו בה המים בתוך מעת לעת, לא היו במים 60 לבטלה, וחזרו המים כולן איסור.
Mhm.
This is because you measure what's in the pot against the entire kadera, which you heated water in within 24 hours, and if the water doesn't have 60 against the kadera, then the water turns into isur. Ve'nochem b'vasar b'chalav k'defrishit le'el b'yilcho basar b'chalav siman sadi dalid. And that's not true with basar b'chalav, as we explained earlier.
Yeah, what he's talking about there is when it's you cook basar and then in between you boil water and then you cook halav in the pot and between the basar and halav is 24 hours but the water in between interrupts. He doesn't think that changes the timeline. It's still considered 24 hours there. That's what he's talking about in that case. We can look at it in Sadi Daled, but all right, here's my question. Who's he sound like here? Forget the lean out Lila versus mate late. Who's he sound like?
The Ramah.
The Ramah, but he doesn't hold like the Ramah in terms of Hanan. So is Hanan what's motivating him here?
Probably not.
Yeah, even though it kind of sounds like it, right? He says, the v'chazru maim kulan isur, right? Which sounds a little bit like Hanan language, but he doesn't hold Hanan. So what's going on is an interesting question here. But so let's look at the Beit Yosef. We were gonna, did we even start it in class? I can't remember if we started it in the end or not. I don't think we did. But so I told Rav Nachum we would do it, and so let's do it. I think this is a important halachic topic because this could easily happen. You discover after all halachic topics are important, but maybe the Beit HaMikdash will get rebuilt tomorrow. We didn't know what korbanot to bring, but the we also and boy will we have to bring a lot. But so it's maybe Hashem will be like, that's just too many at this point. I'll just let you do one and be forgiven. But but this is like it can happen, right? You cook isur and you didn't realize you cooked isur, and then you cook other stuff in the pot, and you want to know what the timeline is at that point. So yes, Josie.
So it sounds like if you wanted to do, what's the difference between this and like hagala in my pot? Like I want to take my pot and I go boil it to try to purge it with whatever, so I can, or kosher my pot so that
Yeah.
I can use it for something else. How is this case differing? Is it just the amount of water that is surrounding the pot? The what
So it's a
like
good question. There's a big debate about how Hagala works in the first place. If you remember the Tosfot trying to figure out Hagala, the Tosfot hold that you can't really do Hagala without either having a ratio of 60 to 1 of the water against the size of the pot, or having waited for a full day before you do Hagala. This is why all these kashrut agencies say, you should wait. They say wait 24 hours or contact your local authority, if you can't, before doing Hagala and things. Not Libun, by the way. Libun, you don't need to wait 24 hours because you're following the Tosfot. The Tosfot thinks that this isn't kosher in the pot at all. Um, the There are other opinions that think that well, we'll get into this, that it does work. Maybe it's no tentam bar no tentam at that point, because it's like the flavor weakens with every kind of transfer, or at least transfers through pots. Um, and But yeah, in general, I think the tour holds like the Tosfos. He doesn't think this koshers at the end of the day. The other possibility, by the way, that people talk about is if you can add an agent to the water that renders the flavor pagum. For instance, like soap.
soap?
Yeah. And then so I have seen people suggest that when you kosher stuff, if you don't know or something like that, even though stam keli may not be nayamam, you just add some soap when you kosher just to be sure. And people also suggest that if like when you kosher pots, if you have like little cracks or something that maybe might prevent you from koshering, maybe just fill them with soap or fill them with bleach or something, and then do the koshering. I don't know if people have heard that from other authorities, but um, and I've definitely used that before for Pesach purposes. But those use like a place I don't think is actually going to interact with the food. So um, okay, good. I know we don't do Hagala, and we really should. Most of those are in Hilchot Pesach actually. So uh, let's do the Beis Yosef. Let's see, Eitan, you just read, right?
Yep.
Max, start us out.
Okay. Umash kasav Rabbeinu v'im besoch me'es le'es chamamu b'mayim v'chule. Din ze ksavo bal hatruma v'nasan tam l'davar dekach shaveh hamayim l'didan kimo ha'isur atzmo dechol hamayim na'asu nevela kivan shelo haya behem shishim levatel plitas hakli v'chazru v'niv'alu b'kdera v'niv'lu b'kdera.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is in the Bala Truma, and the reason is that the water becomes like the Isser itself, which is to say Nevela. Um, and since there is not 60 against the water in order to cancel out
But it's
uh
anyway, the water isn't 60 against what was absorbed in the pot, right? To cancel it out.
right, the water that you're putting in the meantime, right. Um, then whatever had been absorbed into the Kedera is then pushed back out into the water.
It is pushed back into the water, and then the water goes back and is absorbed in the pot, right? As a nevela now, right? This is the but yes, because it's like you cooked a second isur in the pot now at this point, is the way that he's understanding it. Okay. Okay, so that's the bala truma, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah, bala truma.
Yeah.
What does the smock say?
Usma kevi divrei bal hatruma v'kasav achar kach deyesh harbe mekilim bedin zeh achar she'ein beguf ha'isr ben yomo ein lahachshivo kiven yomo adkan. Right, but the Smak thinks that if it's not actually guf ha'isr, then the clock does not reset.
Exactly. So okay, so then we have the smock who seems to think um, be lenient because it's the Easter's not Ben Yomo, and the Bala Truma who thinks that I almost said Truma Tedeshan, the Bala Truma, very different source, who thinks that this is about Hanan. All right, keep going.
Okay,
Is it
sorry.
is the
Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Eitan
So
go.
the smug is basically saying like if there isn't like chunks of meat still attached to the side of the pot, let's say if it's trafe meat, then it's basically like okay, so as long as you've like wiped out your pot and you can't see anything, then the rule of resetting the clock actually doesn't apply.
Exactly. That's exactly what he's saying. He's like, yeah,
Oh,
this is not, there's no Gufa Isur, and whatever the reason is that he thinks but there's no Ben Yomo Gufa Isur going into the water. It's just Playtop from the walls of the pot, and then you shouldn't consider it as like it absorbs something Ben Yomo, and so it doesn't reset the clock.
If what I'm struggling with that position is that if Gufo Isor is the issue, then there's like probably if there's Gufo Isor, it's going to be a very small amount, and then like that sort of like triggers the flavor that's in the walls of the pot to count as Gufo Isor also, so that the water in it counts against that, not as being canceled out by 60. Is that the idea?
Oh, no, I think he's just saying that Plata doesn't operate to make things Hanan in the same way that you're thinking of. Like this is that's what he's saying here. And
Okay.
what I think he really is behind the smock. I didn't look at the smock itself, but I think what he's really saying is it's not Barnat, right? Is that it's no tentam into the Kli, it's no tentam from the Kli into the water, and then it's no tentam back into the Kli. That's just like a really weak flavor that you've
I
now
see.
have. And that's like nothing. We say that we don't say that about food to food transfer. Like when it's Gufa Isur transferring the flavor, we don't say that.
Mhm.
We only say that when it's Kalim transferring the flavor into something else. So, um, but
Okay.
yeah. Okay. That's the smuck. That's the truma velinirat. This is now the Beis Yosef picking up.
Veliner ela hatzir, mipnei shekvar kasafti b'siman tzadi beis, shedas rov haposkim ba lehora'ah, maskemes ledas Rabbeinu Ephraim, de lo amrinan chanan ela bibsar v'chalav, aval lo b'shar yisurin, ulefi divreihem, b'kedera b'lias iser, afilu huchmu b'mayim, b'soch me'es le'es, le'esan ba.
Hmm.
So, since we know most reputable sources agree that Hanan only applies to Basar B'Chalav, but not to Shari Surin. And according to that position, um, um, the basically what's happening in the pot is not Basar B'Chalav,
Hmm.
and so uh, it's water. And so as long as you have 24 hours between having cooked the Isser, even if you cook the water in the meantime, um, there's room to be lenient.
Exactly. So, okay, keep going.
Ulaolam chashvinan hame'es le'es. Yeah, okay. Chashvinan hame'es le'es. Me'es should be bishaba ha'eser, right?
Yeah.
That's it's not the water. It's from the time you cook the iser. V'im bishel ba basar ve'achar כך chalav o ibcha. ובסוף מאיס לאיס לבישול ראשון הוחמו במים, בעל התרומה מודה דחשבינן מאיס לאיס מבישול הראשון, כמו שכתב בסימן צדי ד'.
Good.
So, if on the other hand it's a case of basar b'chalav, which is everyone agrees
Oh,
is
no, no, it's actually not the
or
basar
no,
b'chalav together. This is when he's his language is a little bit short here. Well, this is the case of basar and then chalav 24 hours later, but within those 24 hours you
right?
cooked some water.
Uh-huh. Okay, in that case, the Baal HaTruma would be modeh that you can be lenient to go by Bishul Rishon and not by the water.
Exactly. So I know that because that one piece paragraph confused me too. When I first read it,
Okay.
I was like, oh,
All
he
right,
must be
that
talking
makes more
about that
sense.
case. Yeah, but
That makes
that's
more
what he
sense.
talks about in Sadi Daled. So
Okay. Okay. Mihu, heicha shehi blua mi basar b'chalav shenis bashlu b'yachad, o b'zeh achar zeh, b'ha nir'eh le
wait,
div,
what do you have there in your work? What are you looking at?
uh, I think I copied and pasted this from Al Torah.
And it doesn't have the Bedek Habayit there.
No.
Oh, interesting. Mine has
Starting where? Sorry.
it might just give you mihu hecha shehi blua mi basar v'chalav shnit bashlu, and then mine has in parentheses beheter, and then the Beta Kabayit comes in and says sarich le'avir hakulmus al tevat beheter
Huh.
v'lichtov bimkoma biyachad. So,
Okay.
so I
Thanks,
guess Alator
Alatorah.
just did
Yeah,
it.
thanks, Alatorah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so in a case where it's basar b'chalav that were cooked either together or I guess soon after one another, um, in that case, is this l'divrei hamakilim?
Oh, divrei kol. Divrei
L'divrei
kol.
hakol?
Mhm.
כשהוחמו בה המים בסוך מאיס לאיס, חשיב כאילו חזר ונספשל בה העשר, ומונין מאיס לאיס משעה שהוחמו המים. דהה כולי עלמא מודו שהמים נעשו חנן, דבבשר בחלב לדברי הכל, חנן.
Mhm.
Okay, so since everyone agrees that that Basar B'Chalav is the case where everyone agrees that Hanan applies, and so if the Isser in question is Basar B'Chalav one way or another, then everyone would agree that if you cooked water in the meantime, that resets the clock.
Exactly. Good. Ori, are you readable? I'll take that as a no. But all right, let's keep going here. Josie, you want to pick up Aval Fitam Shekatav Smak?
אבל לפי הטעם שכתב סמך, בהנמי איכא למישרי. So, but according to the idea of the smak, that you can permit this, that da'af al gav da'amrinan haticha atzma na'aseh nevela, haynu le'inyan she'im nefla lekdera acheret, צריך 60 כנגד כולה. מכל מקום, כיוון שאין שם גוף האיסור עצמו, לא המיר כולי.
Keep going.
כולי לאיסור הכלי להצריך למנות לא מעת לעת, משעה שהוחמה במים. That's a sentence.
Yes.
So in any case, or in every case, right? Since the actual Isor isn't there,
Yeah.
we're not going to be machmir on this, and so therefore, at least we're not going to say you have to wait from the time of the water heating.
Exactly. This is
right?
not. Yeah. This right to the smak. Hanan is not about the bliah from a kli coming into the water and the water going back to the walls. The Hanan is about, I drop some isur, I cook some isur with a heter, and then the heter falls into something else. That's what we're worried about with Hanan. It's a different case. So the smak would be lenient even in the basar b'chalav. Even if I cooked basar b'chalav in a pot and then within 24 hours I cooked water in it, he would say it doesn't reset the clock. It's from the original cooking. Okay, but now we got some of the Beit Yosef is coming back here.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
The when he quoted the smak above, the smak says yesh harbe mekilim.
Yeah.
Is that, should we read that as the smak himself poskening that, or that
I think
that's
so.
how it seems.
Yeah, it seems that he's reading it that way too. That the smak is saying, here's the Truma's opinion, but there's a lot to be made of. Yeah. So not just there is. It seems to be like, and I think most people don't listen to the Truma, essentially, the Bala Truma on this.
Right.
Okay. Good. Vinirelli.
ונראה לי, אם כבר עפר עליו לילה אחד קודם שהוחמו המים, אפילו בבלוע מבשר וחלב, אין מונין מעת לעת, אלא משעת שבשלו בה האיסור. כיוון דאיכא רבותא דאיכא רבותא.
Ravavata. Dika Ravavata.
Ravavata. דסברי שכבר אינה בה יומא.
Good.
So so the Beit Yosef is poskening that if if you if you already have linat laila in between before you cook the water, you don't have to reset the clock.
Exactly. Why?
Because it's the Ika Ravuta. I'm not sure how to. I'm not sure what Ravavuta is.
They're rabbis.
Okay, that's okay. That's kind of what I thought, but the Savar Shigvar, so there's people you can depend on that say it's not Bat Yomo anymore.
Exactly. Right. Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi. That's pretty good. I think this is a fake sveka, if I'm not mistaken, right? This is safek that the smak is right, and there's no Hanan issues here at all. Hanan because there's no gufa isor. And even if you think the smak is wrong, then perhaps Rabbeinu Tam slash Rashi is right, and it only takes Linat Laila to make it pagum in the first place. And it goes the other way too, right? If you think it's, you think that it only takes Linat Laila. And even if you don't think it takes Linat Laila, perhaps it doesn't even make Hanan anyway because it's not Gufa Yisur. So it is a fake, I think, so Lakula at this point.
And even though we're not relying on this, the hatir mashni bashel ba, az mikol makom la'inyan zeh shapir dame l'smoch alayhu. It in any case, you can rely on them.
In this case, right?
Yeah, in this case.
Normally we don't rely on Linat Laila. We do rely on it here. So
if you have indeed waited this Linat Laila.
Oh no, if before the Linat Laila.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you boil the water before, and you go back to the case of the Balatruma, what is it? Still
exactly.
So if you were impatient and you boiled the water too early, you set the clock at the water boiling.
Exactly.
That's the upshot.
I want to look. I didn't prepare it, but I think we should do it if that's okay. The Prisha here, because the Prisha thinks the Beit Yosef got this wrong. Got it wrong in terms of understanding the Torah, because he turned the whole thing. The Beit Yosef, or maybe the Torah got it wrong. I don't know, because it sounds like the Bala Truma really did think this was about Hanan. And it can't be that the Torah thinks it's about Hanan because the Torah doesn't hold Hanan B'Shar Yisurim. So let's see. Let's take a look at the Prisha in Hey. Maybe I'll read it since I didn't prepare it. This would be good for me. How do I know it's there? Because I just glanced over. Chashiva bat yoma ad tishe me'et le'et. Lefi shemesharina b'chol ha'kdera v'chazru ha'mayim kulan isur. Okay. Alfagav the Rabbeinu Sfirale, Kerabbeinu Ephraim, Delor Mina Hanan, Ki Im Bevasar B'chalav. So even though our Rabbi the Tur, right, thinks like Rabbeinu Ephraim that we don't say Hanan except in Basar B'chalav, V'im Ken Lama Katav V'chazru Mayim Kulan Isur. So why did he write that all the water comes back, or goes back into the pot, the flavor of it, as an Isur? Yesh Lomar. Delav hachitama mishum Hanan. It's not because of Hanan. He's talking about this. Elu mishum deloya dinan kama isur yesh bahen. We don't know how much isur is in them. V'lachen machsekinan lehu kulan isur, and therefore we assume that it's all isur. Right. This is the chumrah we've seen before. We don't know how much isur is the water goes into it, and so we just assume it's all isur. Vayin Masha Katafti El Siman Sadi Gimel B'Shem Harashba Ve'arosh B'Bishul Yirakot B'Ktera Shel Basar Shemutar Vashel Achar Kach Ba'Gvina Mishum Deniklash Ta'am Basar Sheba. So he has this really amazing thing from the Rashba and the Rosh that if you cook something parv in a kedera of meat, that afterwards you can cook milk cheese in it because you've actually essentially koshered it. This is like going back to Josie's thing. You've weakened the tam of the basar in it, and so it's essentially like a koshering process. Masha'en kenim mashal b'kdera shel isur, right? That's a case of basar to halav, but that's not the case of isur. Dafagav de rashba gamken sfira lahu to ein chaticha atzmana senevela. והבה ללממר דאף דהירקות אסורים, היינו משום דאי אפשר להבדיל תמה איסור מתוכו. Right? But even though the Rashba also holds that there's no chanan, and he should have said that even the Yarkot are forbidden, that's because it's impossible to distinguish the flavor of the Isur that's in it. אבל מכל מקום הטעם שחוזר ונתבשל בקדירה, רובו של היתר הוא, ויקלש האיסור מהקדירה. And nonetheless, even though he holds that, the time that goes back and is cooked in the kedera, it's mainly heter, and it weakens the isur from the kedera. And afilu hachi eno minadim lomar shiklashe isur alidei rakot shen asurim hachinami nomar. I'm not sure what that is. No, nomar bazeh. But because it's easy, in other words, he should have said the same thing about isur that he did about basar v'chalav, but he thinks because it's isur, we don't say that essentially, which is typical that we are more lenient about, right? Basar isn't itself an isur, so it's not like an issue when you cook vegetables in it. And so even though the flavor of the isur would also weaken, nonetheless, we're more lenient in the case of basar to vegetables to chalav than we are to isur vegetables to heder. So, all right, that's a different topic though. So, but all right. Good. Any questions about that? So he thinks, I just want to summarize, right? Maybe I'll go back, right? He thinks that for the tour, it's not about Hanan. It's just about we don't know how much Isur is in the water and comes back. And therefore, really, which really is essentially he's saying like it recooks the Isur and reawakens its pagumim, thing. That's what maybe I'll say that like there's the clock starts like the thing only becomes pagum if it's sitting in the walls of the thing. If you cook it, it comes back out and it kind of reinvigorates it and sends it back in. And we don't know how much there is there. And therefore we assume that the worst possible case. That's the way the Prisha understands the Torah. But we don't paskin that way. We paskin like the Shulchan Aruch or like the Rama, who does think it's a Hanan issue. So people with me there? No, everyone's so silent. Did I say something wrong?
What's the difference in opinion if it's because of Hanan or if it's because of it's the difference between 24 hours and
Oh,
Lina Laila?
good. No. I think it's for the tour. He's actually more machmir because of this, right? Because even though he doesn't
I
hold
see.
Bishari Sarim, or even if you might say, or to put it differently, right? Remember we had the idea that the Rama said that for Isur, for not Isur, for Hefsed Berubeh, right? We would even for Basar B'Chalav potentially, we would be lenient. This is my take on the Rama. Really on the Shach on the Rama, but okay that we would be lenient because some people say there's no Hanan belach, right? But the Torah thinks it's not about Hanan. So if it's not about Hanan, he'd be machmir in all sorts of cases here. He would say Hefsed Meruben, no, it's not about lach, it's not about Hanan. So I don't care if there's no Hanan belach, according to some people. That's my
And the Beit Yosef and Mechaber ended up being more Mekil also, but not for this reason, assumedly, because he doesn't hold Hanan.
yeah.
How does the Mechaber address what the Torah's position is, I guess, now?
He thinks the Torah is about Hanan. He just doesn't deal with the fact that the Torah doesn't hold Hanan Bishari.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So, well, it's actually an interesting question. He may not care what the Torah thinks. What he's really doing is he's giving you the Bala Truma's position. And, he doesn't bring up Hanan with the Torah. He brings it up with the Bala Truma, who does bring up Hanan explicitly, according to the Beit Yosef. So this is really not the Beit Yosef commenting on the Torah. This is Beit Yosef using the Torah as a place to talk about the issue.
Mhm. Now, just to explain this pre-show a little bit better,
Um,
um, the fact that we don't know how much flavor is in the water,
yeah,
how does that get us to Oser as opposed to
yeah.
because the Pagum never set in, basically.
It is yeah, essentially is the pagum never set in, and we don't know how much of the Isur from the waters going back that got absorbed into the waters going back into the pot. So we just assume it all of the Isur came back and is reset. So
But really, it's this functional understanding of the Isur. It didn't sit long enough the first time for the Pagum to set in, which is sort of reasonable, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's in a status of cooking still, thanks to the hot water.
yeah, yeah. Well, actually, sorry, I'm gonna say it all again because I think actually maybe I didn't say it well, and this goes back to Josie's question about koshering, is right if you don't hold chanan, what you assume is the Isur came out into the water. And yeah, maybe a little bit of Isur went back. Let's assume we don't hold Hanan in this case, whatever the case is. Maybe it's Shari Sarim. And you don't think necessarily the Isur went back into the pot, right? You think the Isur went into the water, the flavor, and you dump the water out. And so maybe there's a little bit of Isur left in there, but not a lot.
Oh, right. It's about the round trip back to the walls.
Exactly. And then you dump out the thing. So you essentially maybe have koshered it or at least weakened the flavor of it.
So once you talk about round trip, how is this not bar not?
Ah, good. So that's the whole thing is if you hold Hanan though is the problem, then it does have to reset the clock because what happens is yeah, this is back into the walls would have been not or not, but the Hanan means the water that goes into the walls itself is an Isur, and is problematic
If you hold Hanan by Shari
by
Surim.
Shari Stream or if
Yeah,
it's or is it
but
Basar
we
Bachal.
were
Yeah,
but we were in the pre-show and the tour trying to still
good.
say some version of this without that. So they also have the problem of not bar not, no?
Oh, good. So the Prisha's saying, yeah, it's interesting why he doesn't think it's a not bar not case, right? Because he says, some of the Isur comes out of the walls, goes into the water, and comes back into the walls, the same Isur, right? And that's really the concern
Okay.
there. And we assume it was just like maximum amount, like that there's no koshering happened to some extent. Which it might be interesting to trace them and how the Beit Yosef and the Tur see koshering in this thing. I think the Tur follows the Tosfot, who thinks that yeah, koshering is an ineffective thing if you don't um, uh,
Wait.
Wait,
yeah, if you don't wait 24 hours.
Yeah.
So that's it's yeah, what was
well,
I gonna say?
boiling Hagala for kashrei.
Exactly. Yes, sorry, Hagala, not Libun works
Libun
fine.
is good.
Libun just destroys flavor, is what it does, right? You can always torch things. We say that we're going to see that more actually, right? This is the reason, for instance, when you have something on the fire, you're not worried about like Isur falling on the fire and coming back into things. We're going to see, right? Because it burns it up at the end of the day. So it might be why, there's a lot around koshering burners, but like you might not have to kosher a burner because the burner just burns up all the Isur on it, kind of thing. So. Um, good. This is also the way that I decided if you ever like use a public barbecue, right? The grill is a problem, but the fire, it's like the ashes itself is not a problem. It's all burnt. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't put your food directly in the ashes. But it's I don't think there's a reason to kosher if you're not using the grill of the barbecue. So I don't know, maybe someone has a better opinion than that, but it's all Libun.
So we end up with three Shitot that are sort of a funny triangle where we have the Beit Yosef and the Baal Truma, who are the most Mekel because they assume it's Hanan, but they don't hold Hanan.
Well, the Baal Truma seems to hold Hanan.
Oh, Beit Yosef explaining the Baal Truma.
Yes, exactly. So
That's what I missed. Um, and then we have the tour Prisha end up being the most Mahmir because it doesn't even have to do with Hanan. It's just the preservation of the flavor,
yeah,
might be one way to put it. And then you have the Haga and the Shach who end up being a sort of middle ground, in at least in the case of Hefsed. Um, because it is Hanan, but a unusual case where we can be a little bit more Mekel. And that had to do with Lach Belach, right?
Yeah.
Be more Mekel because
And
Lach Belach isn't
no, it
really
had to do with
Hanan.
um it had to do with two things. One is the opinion that Lina they're Makil because of Lina Lila. Um s-
But why are they Linat Lila in this case and not others of
I
Hanan?
think because you have Lina Lila combined with the fact that um Lina Lila combined with well, let me just make sure. I'm gonna actually I want to read it back in before I say it out. Uh so the Rama says, "B'chol Yisrim Chatichana Selah." Yeah. Umakom said Yesh Latir. B'chai Gavna B'Shar Yisrim B'chol Inyan Rak Shia Me'et Leit Mizman. Uh, yeah. Bizman Yisr because there number one there's the opinion that there's an opinion that there isn't in Shar Yisrim Hanan. So that's his leniency number one.
Because the Haggah only sort of half-heartedly believes in it, like we've seen in other places, where
Yes.
Machmir, like Hanan, is in Shari Surim, with the knowledge that it might not be.
hmm
I
So,
don't know if that's the right way to put it,
well, no,
but you're
actually, sorry. It's two things. It's one that, and then the fact is not the Gufa Isur in the first place. I think he's actually has a little bit
right. Oh, I
of
forgot about that.
of the smuck in him at that point. So,
It's
Can I
just
yeah, go ahead, Max.
just to say out the difference here between the Mechaber and the Ramah?
Yeah,
The difference is Basar Bechalav and Shari Surim,
yes,
right? That's it.
yeah. Well, it's an interesting
I
question.
mean, there are a couple of, I shouldn't say that's it.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange in that he thinks that the Mechaber says me'ait la'ait from the if it's basar b'chalav you have to wait 24 hours since you heated the water, and the Ramaz says no, actually you really need to wait linat laila. Um,
Right,
so which is interesting. Mechaber seems to in the Beit Yosef seems to imply he thinks linat laila and not me'ait la'ait.
right,
So
right.
this is itself kind of funny. And so that's one difference, but the other difference is really just the Ramaz strict with this rule also for Shari Sarim, except he's lenient about that. He pulls back on it if there's a hefsed. So, and that's again because it seems to be at least because it's not the goof of the Isur, and there are people who hold there's no Hanan in Shari Sarim. So it's again a sfeka going on there.
But why was it important that Lach Belach
Oh,
might
that was
also weaken?
yeah. The Shach said
That's
uh,
the Shach's edition.
that would apply if there have said gadol. Um, so so even if it weren't for the Ramaz thing about that Shari Surim, we would allow it for Hefsed, at all. If if he was saying if that reason didn't exist, but the Lach Balach thing that there's no Hanan, that would at least for Hefsed Gadol allow us to rely on that opinion. So,
Well, who actually holds the opinion that there's no Hanan for Lach Belach?
I don't remember who we saw that in. It was where did we see that? So
There's
let's
just
see.
doubt about it, basically.
What was that?
Well, I'm also asking, like, why does Lach Belach weaken the idea of Hanan?
Oh, no, no, no. There's an idea that the Hanan is only about actually having a chaticha that has Isser that falls on it, and not about a
Which
case
would
of
make sense,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you're
So
saying a sauce. When you say lach, you mean
yeah, or a
that
soup, a
everything
soup,
is liquid.
exactly.
Both the Isser and the heter is liquid.
Yeah. So or the Isser mixes into the heter or something like that. So, but
Right, but that's why you don't have a chaticha to become the nevela. So
exactly.
maybe,
Yes. Yeah.
but that's not the mainstream view, right? That's just Sag
No,
lahakel and the
it's
hefsek
it's
gadol.
it is a sneef lehakel that some people hold.
Sneef lahakel.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one more
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course.
quick thing? I know when we talk about koshering and everything, is there anyone who thinks that I feel like sometimes when I see people ask this question about use of the pot before koshering or whatever, people say use of the pot. Is there anyone who thinks that
Oh,
just heating it up, like not as in when I first saw Mayim, I was like, okay, this is a totally neutral, agent, and that's why it's being used for this, like that, as in the whole Hava Mina of maybe the clock doesn't reset is because water is a neutral agent. But is there anyone who says that even applying any heat to the pot could be choser v'nior of some kind?
Actually, I don't, not that I know of, like you just
Okay.
stick it on. Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't seen that. Yeah, it's, that's the thing with the Rashba, right? The Rashba thinks Yirakot might be different because they're going to weaken, in a way that water doesn't. They're going to weaken the,
Right.
um, uh, I will, there is some debate. It's the Ramban actually, I think, who holds that only water kashers. That he thinks there's something
Uh-huh.
special about water. Um, and that's why I believe the Ramban holds you don't need 24 hours. He thinks that water has some special, so we say chemical property. He doesn't speak in the language of chemical property, that
Yeah.
it actually does remove flavor from things in a way that other stuff doesn't. Um, but it is a cleaning agent at the end of the day. It's
Yeah.
um, the, so yeah, it's what was I going to say? But just actually, the truth is, we should play with this, right? Someone says, right, if we go by the Tosfot, that in order to kosher, I need to leave in a few minutes. I apologize, we need to end early today. But if you need to kosher, you need to wait 24 hours to kosher. Um, and that's because, right, we need tam pagum in the pot. But you agree that actually cooking something neutral in there doesn't do anything, right? Doesn't reset, because maybe there's no Hanan Bishari Surim, or like for Pesach, right? For Pesach, actually, let's play this out, and I'm pretty sure it does play out for Pesach, right? Where let's not Pesach yet. It's a couple days before Pesach. I cook chametz. Now I'm boiling water in my pot. I would hold that, and so I boiled water, and just to heat water, not to kosher, but to heat water in the last 24 hours. I haven't reset the clock at that point on the chametz. And therefore, I can do it as long as it really should be 24 hours since I made chametz in it, not 24 hours since I cooked anything in it. Of course, you should be careful with other things other than water. But so there might be. I'm now making my own chiddush, so I have to think about it. You can come up with reasons I'm wrong. But if you came to me and you said, Joel, I need to kasher this pot for Pesach. I haven't made chametz in it, but I've been using it to boil water for tea for the last, every day for the last several days. It hasn't been 24 hours. I'd probably say go ahead, kasher it. Because it's been more than 24 hours since you last cooked chametz. And chametz isn't an isur, right? So there's no hanan issues at all for anybody at this point. So did I lose everybody with that, or is that? Yes, or yeah, I lost you.
Well, I need to go more into Hamet's background information. I saw it was in some of the sources, but I don't think we did them in Sheer in the end.
Yeah,
How it's similar, how it's different. I was
chametz is
curious about it. I don't have a great handle on it yet.
yeah, chametz is a weird thing in that it's mutar, right? And in fact, I will say the Mishnah
Because
Berurah.
it's sometimes mutar, so it doesn't have the status of a Isser,
Yeah, the
halachic status.
I believe the Mishnah Berurah. There's a whole question about chametz on Pesach if it's if tam pagum is asur or not. But I remember the Mishnah Berurah actually says that I need to find it again. So before I completely quote this, but he says before Pesach you can take your non-Pesach pot, let it sit for 24 hours. It's not tam pagum of chametz.
Mhm.
And you can cook something for Pesach in it because it's completely heter right now. You're not doing anything, right? You're not allowed to lechatchila do that on Pesach, but you can do that lechatchila before Pesach because it's not Isur. And then you can eat that thing on Pesach. Other people take him on that because he clearly holds tam pagum of chametz is not a problem on Pesach after you've cooked the dish. And other people do think it's a problem. So, but, it makes a lot of sense though in a world where it wasn't so easy. Like people have all run into this. Like, what do you do with your kitchen when you're like koshering for Pesach, but you need to also make Shabbos dinner before Pesach, and and so you can't like just go kosher everything. And the Mishnah Berurah's answer is just like leave a pot leave it out for 24 hours and then just cook before Pesach. Um, so. Okay, I gotta find that in the Mishnah Berurah. I saw it when Michael Rosenberg showed it to me at one point, and I don't remember where it is. So I gotta go look again. All right, I do have to go. I'm gonna pick up a child. So you should call everybody. This was hopefully good, hopefully informative. Hopefully I didn't say too much
Thank you.
wrong.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.